Next speaker is Tertia Dippenaar, someone very close to me. We grew up together. She grew up in Extension 2. I remember going to her house, my brother and I and friends, they had a swimming pool, guys. You know, in a park, if you got a swimming pool, you're cool. Uncle Guzan, thank you for letting us use your swimming pools. So we'd go swim at her house. She comes from she has a beautiful, and you know what's great is her parents are here this morning supporting her. She's got two lovely sisters. Obviously, I don't know if anyone remembers I'm going to mention her name. Her name, Tansy Kutsia, former Miss South Africa, the first Miss South Africa from Eldorado Park. It's her younger sister, right? Taryn is also other sister, also very successful in the corporate industry. So Auntie Pauline and Uncle Guzan, thank you for bringing beautiful, there's talent. So mensen sê there's talent in die gemeenskap, beautiful women. And this is one of them, and the other one is sitting next to her sister. So please welcome on stage, because Tertia, she'll speak about sacrifice, because her husband is currently dancing in Cape Town. They're meeting in the next 2 weeks. Then he flies to China. Then you fly to Bangkok to go dance for 4 months. She just come back from Germany. From Taiwan. So, ladies, help me welcome Tertia Dippenaar.
Good morning, everyone. You know, I hate doing things first, so I'm so glad when I saw Daryl put me second on the list. But now, Slim het alles gesê wat ek wil sê. So now I wish I went first. but it's interesting that the underlying message is always the same. So on the poster, it says, I always laugh at these things, how did this woman from the township achieve her success? And it got me thinking, like, what is success? I think everyone's definition of success is different, and at a different stage in your life, your definition of success will be different. But I had a primary school teacher who said, Mr. Lepan, and he said, for him, the definition of success is when you're financially secure, your family life is healthy, and your personal life is healthy. So it's not just one thing, it's not just money, but it's all three of those things. As a human being, there's more to success than just money. And I think that stayed with me for a very long time. Can I just say how nervous I am? I just came back from tour, and we performed. It was my first arena. So for those of you who don't know, I dance with The Lion King. I'm currently on tour with The Lion King International Tour. It's a musical. Thank you, dancer. And so I'm away a lot. And this last season was in Taipei Arena, and we performed for 6,500 people every night. That's like, I was like, I'm a rock star. 6,500, really, like when Rafiki starts, the audience is like, wow, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I've been doing Lion King on and off for about 6 years now. I've been involved in 3 different companies. My first one was in Brazil for 2 years. My second one was in Germany for 2 years as well. And now the international tour, which I've been on for a year and a half. And people always ask me, how do you do the same show 8 times a week for 6 years? And I'm like, discipline, number 1. I've trained to do this my whole life. And number 2, you really, if you go into the arts, you really have to love what you do. That is what gets you through the hard days. So back to success. There's no secret to success. You know, people think there's no secret to success. And Slim was just now proof of that. The message you hear from a lot of motivational speakers is always the same. Everyone's story is slightly different, but the message is usually the same. You need to work hard. You need to invest in your craft, in your passion. You need to educate yourself. You need to take calculated risks, and you need to have a little bit of tenacity, especially if you're in the arts. So I think I knew from a very early age that I was gonna dance. My mother, I had to ask my mother to remind me what the hall was called. What was that? DJ Opperman. So there was this community like outreach program, and Badet, who was the dance teacher at the time, taught a class, and that's where I did my first ballet class. 3 years old, in my little white leotard, in my big machia. I had a very big stomach when I was small, I don't know why. And that was my first ballet class. And like, as they say, the rest is history. I knew from very early on what I wanted to do, where my talent lied. And I'm very grateful that I had parents who always pushed us and tried their damnedest to give us the opportunities that they didn't have. So if I wanted to do ballet, my mother was like, send the child to ballet. If I wanted to do gymnastics, my mother was like, die kind wil split, send it to gymnastics. If I wanted to act, she put me in an agency, and I did that. So they gave up, and it wasn't that we had a lot of money, but they knew that they needed to make those sacrifices to give us the opportunities that they didn't have. So a big turning point for me, I think, was when I made the brave decision to go into arts. I said, okay, I'm Tertia Dippenaar at the time, I'm Dippenaar now. I'm in matric this year. I've applied to all the universities. I applied for biokinetics. My father's in education, so he was like, you must study something proper, you're going to go to university. And I applied, and I got accepted, and I was like, but I want to dance. And my mother was like, let the child dance. She's talented. They could see that I had a natural inclination in that direction, and they let me study dance. And going into the arts is always a very brave decision, because everyone goes, oh, you're going into the arts, jy gaan arm wees. You're going to be poor, no? And I think, honestly, that mindset was probably one of my greatest driving forces, because I was like, yes, I'm going to go into the arts, yes, I'm going to dance, but I will not be poor. I am going to do everything in my power to make sure that I make a success of this. And I did. And so I studied for 3 years, and I was very fortunate that at the end, before I even finished my third year, I got an offer to be in one of South Africa's premier contemporary dance companies, Taiwan Dance Theatre. And it was everything I wanted, because I was like, I want to be a professional dancer, I want to dance, I want to wake up in the morning and I want to dance full time. That's what I want to do. And I did that for a year, but something interesting happened when I got offered the contract. So in a dance university, the main technique, let's say, that they teach you is classical ballet. And coming from my background, yes, I did classes and I had a lot of natural talent, but I was not on the level that a lot of the other girls at the university was, because my parents didn't have the money to take me to the fancy ballet teachers and get me all this wonderful training. And that's why I went to university, because I was like, I'm going to do this as a career. I need to learn everything there is to know so that I can be on par internationally. I always knew that I wanted to dance internationally. So that was always, when I started university, that was my mindset going, in that I'm coming here to learn. I'm coming here to be a student. I'm not coming here to show off. I'm not coming here to show how many competitions I won in high school. I'm coming here to learn, because I want to be professional and I want to make a success of this. And in my first year at university, they do this annual season. And I came from always being in the school talent show. I was always the dancer. I was at the family events. I was always the dancer. So that was kind of like my claim to fame. So I got to university, and it's my first year, And every year they have an annual showcase. And I didn't get cast in anything. And I was like, yo, am I not a good dancer? This is all the other girls, all the girls that are classically trained, they all got parts, And it's a thing if you're a first year and you get cast in the showcase. And I thought, okay, well, doesn't matter. I'm here to learn. All it means is that I need to work harder so that the next year I can get in. And my second year rolled around, and I got cast in almost everything. And we got to the day before the performance, and I look at the cast list, and we've got 3 performances, and there's usually like double cast for a lot of things. And there's 3 performances, and I'm first cast, but I'm only doing 1 performance. And I'm like, but that doesn't make sense. The choreographer chose me. And they said, oh no, we gave the third years preference because they're going out into the industry and they need the exposure. And again, I said, okay, I'm going to be humble. I'm going to accept it for what it is. Carry on. My third year rolled around, and I get this offer to be in the contemporary company. And as we're talking about the contracts, and I'm excited about it, one of my lecturers makes this comment that, oh, your contract actually should have gone to that girl. She's more classically trained. She's this and this and this. It should have actually gone to her. And I was like, I'm actually quite shy, and I'm not a confrontational person. So I was like, and I had a lot of respect for my lecturer, but I was like, wow, that was really not nice. But anyway, I said it doesn't matter. I'm still the one with the contract. And I went on to work for that company and come to the first day of rehearsals. So before we started, we got given this DVD of the season that we'd be doing. And my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, we were partnered up and we were going to perform this duet. So they could give us the DVD and they're like, this is the piece that you're going to be doing, just watch it so that you know what's what. So me being me and having the work ethic that I have, and work ethic is a very, very important thing, I say to him, okay, let's learn the beginning of it. So we go into day 1 and we have an idea of what we're doing. And we get to work, and there's always a double cast. So there's two couples there, and we're both doing the same thing. And we've basically learned half of it, and the other couple doesn't know it at all. And they say to us, oh, you guys know it already, please teach it to them. So I'm like, okay, it's a company, we're all in this together. So we teach them the duet, and the performance day comes, there's 3 performances, we get 1. And I'm like, no man, but this is now round 3. I'm like, this doesn't seem fair. And again, I'm like, okay, stay humble. And I have a lot of respect for authority. And towards the end of that year, there was something in me that was saying, this is not the right place for you. We were discussing contracts for the next year, and I said, okay, and this is where knowing your worth comes in. And I said, okay, I know my worth, and I'm now tired of competing in this industry with these girls that have 6 years more better training with me because they grew up in a more affluent area. I'm going to go out into the industry because I know that I have a place. I just need to find it. So I left the company, and I auditioned for another company who was a physical theater company that wasn't like traditional classical contemporary ballet. It was much more free. The paycheck was like half of what I was making at the previous place. But when you sit in a room with people, and they were interviewing me, and something in the back of my mind said, this is where you need to be. These are the people that you want to work for. And I took the chance, I took the contract. It was a pay cut from my previous contract. But I said from the beginning, I will not be broke. So I will do whatever I have to do to supplement that income that I've now lost. So I did every audition imaginable. And I auditioned to dance in a club. You know those girls on the podiums, nah? And I auditioned to dance in a club. And I'm sure at this point my parents were like, oh my God. We just spent 3 years paying for our varsity fees en nou gaan die kind in 'n club gaan dans. And I'm grateful that they allowed me to do that because I knew why I was there. I needed petrol money, and that was my petrol money for the week. I could go work there after work. So I was doing what I needed to do because I was not going to be broke. I was not going to be a broke dancer. And I did that. And I tell you, what I'm learning over the years is to trust your gut instincts, to trust when you meet someone. And you know, sometimes you get that feeling, you're just like, I don't know, this person, there's something about this person that I don't trust. Trust your gut instincts, but also trust when you meet good people. And the girl that I worked for in the club, she was very professional. And that's why I was comfortable to work for her. She explained to us it's nothing sleazy. You're going to do your 15-minute set. You have your own room in the back, and when you're done, you can leave. You don't need to drink with anyone. You don't need to party with anyone. You're there to be the entertainment, and then you leave. And that taught me really to learn how to read people's character and their professionalism, and also always to act in a professional manner, in any, especially when if you're going to call yourself a professional dancer, you need to be professional, no matter what sphere of the industry you're working in, because that never goes unnoticed by people. So I worked, and I ended up working there for about a year, and then I got my first Lion King contract in Brazil. And I came back from Brazil, and that same girl who I worked for at the club called me. She knew that I was working for a contemporary company at the time. And she said to me, I'm looking for a teacher to come and teach contemporary at the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls. And I and my jaw dropped because I was like, wow. And that moment taught me that if you act with integrity and you are professional, it doesn't matter where you are. Everyone is at a different stage in their career. It doesn't matter where you are in your career. People see that. People see those qualities. Oh, guys, I'm so emotional. People see that, and people recognize that, and it's very difficult to remember that because it's a very difficult industry that we work in. And I'm so glad that Taryn is here because, and I'd actually like to speak to you afterwards, the entertainment industry and the dance industry can be very cutthroat, and it's very challenging, but it teaches you a lot of tenacity, it teaches you self-confidence, and it teaches you work ethic like no other. Because, and like I was saying, there's no secret to success. Hard work is the first thing, and that's a constant. You don't get to a point where you're like, okay, I did X, Y, and Z, I can chill now. You do X, Y, and Z, and then you're like, okay, now I'm here, how do I get there? And every time you've got to step up your level of thinking. So my industry, having a strong body and being healthy and all of that is very important. But I'm finding that having a strong mind is the most valuable thing because you're exposed to a lot in the arts. The arts is so broad, like arts and entertainment, there's like the theater world, there's the corporate world, there's the party world, the party scene, that crazy. There's so many different spheres. And if you really want to call yourself an artist, you need to be able to work in all of those spheres. And there is work in all of those spheres. And that's also how artists stay employed. You need to be versatile, especially in the South African industry. You've got to be versatile and you've got to be open-minded. And why I say that your mindset is important is because I think, like Slim said, you've got to have your vision. You've got to know where you want to go, but you've got to be flexible about the journey. And I've seen a lot of people cut their career short because things didn't go exactly as they planned and exactly the way they wanted it to go. I would have loved to get into a contemporary dance company and dance like that for 10 years. But the year that I got into that company, the next year the funding got cut and the company closed. So what now? Now you go to the next company. And the year that I left that company, their funding got cut, the company closed. And then I worked in Brazil. And then you come back from being overseas. Like, people think it's like this straight trajectory. It's more like that. There's no straight path. The thing that makes you successful, and this is where your definition of success, there's no straight path. But there is a mindset that you have to have, and there's a set of there's a work ethic that you have to have, and there's a problem-solving mindset that you need to have. I had this English teacher in high school, Mrs. White. She's actually now the principal of the school, and she said to me one day, we were on how much time do I have left, by the way? All the time. How much time? Am I doing okay? And we had a problem with, I think we didn't have a rehearsal venue or something. The classroom was busy. And I went to her and I said, ma'am, we can't rehearse. The classroom is busy, something. And she said to me, okay, we'll find a solution. You came to me with a problem, now find the solution. And I don't know why, but that stuck with me throughout my whole life. And I truly believe there are two kinds of people: problem finders and problem solvers. And more often than not, the problem solvers are the people who you now call successful. Because people who find problems stay in their problems. People who look for solutions make moves. You don't stay stuck. You have to keep going. Okay, this is the problem now. I've come back from Brazil. I've got 5 years of training, no sick, unemployed. What now? I can either sit there and go, oh, I'm going to be a broke dancer. That everyone was right. Or I can go and audition for every single company that's out there and find something else. And that's why I'm saying, have your vision, but be flexible about the journey, especially in the arts and especially in South Africa. I started out as an acrobat, a contortionist. And then I did rhythmic gymnastics. And then I got classically trained. And then I did African contemporary. The majority of the work that I've done, the things that have paid my bills, are not even what I studied, in all honesty. And that is the reality of the kind of industry that we're in. And you can be upset about that. And I've seen people cut their career short. Oh, I'm not going to go dance in a contemporary company. I'm a ballet dancer. Okay, but then you're going to be a ballet dancer in your lounge because there's no more ballet dancers. There's no ballet companies in this country. And it doesn't pay the bills. So you've got to be open-minded. I think that for me was, you've got to be open-minded and realize that your definition of success will change over time. For me, for a long time, it was not being broke that was my driving force. And up until about 6 months ago, it's about now people are my driving force and reaching out to the youth. And I tell you, there's nothing like the power of a mindset shift. I was sitting in Taiwan, and I looked at the post of this event that Daryl posted, and I thought, yes, I love to speak to these kids because, I come from there, and we never had people that spoke to us, and we never had anyone in the arts and entertainment industry to inspire us and to tell us what the industry is really like. And I shared the post, and then Daryl reached out to me, and he was like, listen, are you available for this thing? And I was like, yes, I am. So thank you, Daryl, for reaching out and allowing me to speak to this. It's so nerve-wracking coming to something like this because there's so much that I want to share, and there's so much that I want to tell, and there's so much that I want to teach, and that's why I wanted to teach a workshop as well. But, you can only do so much in 20 minutes. But just know that there's no secret, and there's no reason why you cannot be successful in whatever industry that you choose to be. If you are willing to work hard, if you are willing to be a little bit tenacious, and you are willing to make sacrifices for your future, there's absolutely no reason why you cannot achieve what any of your role models out there are doing. And you've got to remember that it's not an overnight thing. It takes work over years. That's why choose something you love, because there will be days where you have to do it purely for the love of it, and you don't want to be stuck sitting behind a desk if you hate numbers and you hate the computer and you hate accounting So choose something that you love, be brave, and just know that if you are walking in your purpose, pray every day, you will be guided and the opportunities will come. So thank you.
I'm sure there's going to be a ton of questions coming from that side of the room because we've got So Dope Dance Academy in the house today. So guys, be kind and be nice. I like the fact that you say be brave. I like the fact that you were honest about the fact that it's not a straight line trajectory, and that because of that reason you have to stick with it. And in our communication about this event, we said that work is love made visible, and that's a quote by some mystic from a while ago. But, or not but, and how after you knew you were going to be a dancer, and I guess you had the support network or encouragement from your family and stuff, how did you, I guess, get to the confidence level of knowing, okay, that internationally, I want to do this internationally. I don't just want to be here and be a teacher, I want to do it internationally. What is it about international appeal or the idea of the world that makes the dream that much bigger, or makes gives you more motivation? What is it about that world space that we can take with us? Because success, or at least achieving, doesn't only have to happen internationally or on the world stage. I mean, everyone here, all the speakers here today are conquering the world, but you can be very successful in Gauteng, you can be very successful in South Africa in a certain way. Can you talk to that kind of contrast?
So I'm glad you asked that, because that's actually an interesting, that whole wanting to be international. I think it's a mindset that gets instilled in us that you are better if you are on an international stage, that you are, that you've achieved this high level of whatever because you're internationally acclaimed. And really, it's just a it's unfortunately a mindset, I think, within the South African community, and I think in the colored community as well, that anyone who's overseas is doing better. Then, we've got that mindset that if you're overseas, then, just from over the seas, you're earning the euros, that you better. And I understand that it's because it's a good goal to strive for, but having been overseas, one thing that I did actually notice, because I was in Germany for 2 years, and I got the opportunity to do a lot of auditions and castings, because I wanted to see what this amazing industry is like. And I mean, I was there with French ballerinas and German and people from Barcelona ballet and this dance school and that school, people that are who were, in my mind, companies that I looked up to. And I was with them in auditions, and I was like, but I'm then as good as all of y'all. And I was like, why do we, once you are out there, and this is what I'm saying, the quality of training, the work ethic, the natural talent that we have, especially in, like, colored people are talented, like, and I just, like we just, and I don't say that, and I don't say that to be biased, but I say it, there is something, I was having this conversation with my friend, I said, rhythm is a blessing. Have you ever watched someone dance and they just like, he's just like, yeah, and they don't have it, and we have it, like, it's so naturally in us. That's why we do so well in the arts and entertainment, and it really is a blessing. And I think it's important for us to encourage our people in the spheres that they are talented in, and stop pushing them into the spheres that we think are going to bring you more success, because in a way we're setting people up for failure, because it's like our ballet companies, right? We have this constant conversation about the kind of works that they put on stage, that they are not made for black bodies, that the pieces that they create, the work that they create, are not made for African bodies. So of course you go into a ballet company and they wonder why we don't get invited to European stages, because we're trying to take an African version of a European product to Europe. They already have that there. That's what they do, you know? So they don't need to see us try and emulate what they do. They want to see us. They want to see Africa. And it's a good and it's a little bit of a sad thing, but that's why something like Lion King does so well. Because there's an element to the music that is authentically African. And that's why that show's been running for 22 years on Broadway, 20 years on the West End, 17 years in Germany. Because people love Africa. We need to take that to the world. That's what they want to see. But we keep trying to be... We keep copying America. Let's be like the Americans. We want to emulate that. Be African. That's what people want. Lebo M is one of the most successful music producers in the world. No? We were talking about Slim's net worth. That man, billions. No? He just worked with Beyonce. Why? Because he is authentically African, and that's what he brings into the music industry there. And that's what they love about him. And that's something I learned being overseas. And I did my plies, and I did for years of my life, trying to be that. And it's valuable. And you've got to train the fundamentals. But when I got overseas, what made me stand out was my Africanness. That when I walk into auditions, yes, I can compete. My leg can also go here like yours, and I can also do this, but you can't do it like this. But I can. And that's what makes you stand out. It's your unique. You've got to be unique. And that's what makes you stand out. And it's a very difficult industry to be in, because you are catering to a specific audience always. If the client wants this, that's what you need to be. And if the client wants that, that's what you need to be. And you need to remember that no matter what the client wants, you still need to remain authentic to yourself. And you can do what you need to do to pay the bills, but don't let that become you. That makes sense.
Taryn's going to be doing, Tertia, excuse me, I'm thinking of my favorite dancers. Going to be doing a performance after our interval, so please stick around for that. But let me come to the side of the room. I want to hear some questions from So Dope. Okay, this one.
I'd like to know, when I heard that story about the club, you dancing at the club, I mean, my bells went off, and I'm thinking your family must have been really supportive. So what would you say to people, to youngsters who grew up in a home where there's no support? It's like they put you in a box and it's from your own family. So like, how do you get out of that and do you?
I know that's a very common question, and I've got a lot of friends who have struggled with that. Yeah, and it definitely is a blessing that I can't take for granted, but a lot of the times when you're trying to achieve something that people don't understand, you have to be brave and go against the grain and stand on your own. And in that time, you learn a lot of independence. But it's one of those moments where you've gotta, even though it doesn't look like you're doing the right thing or feel like you're doing the right thing, and I know that it doesn't sound nice, but you've got to stand alone and you've got to go against it, because a lot of the time it takes very long to change a mindset. You know, mindsets don't change overnight. And even so, I've been working as a dancer for 8 years now professionally. And even so, every time I come back, people are like, "So you're still dancing?" And I'm like, "Yes, that's what I do for a living. That's what I've done for a living for the past 8 years." So it's still a very difficult mindset to change. But as an artist, you have got to be brave, and like I say, you've got to have a little bit of tenacity, and you've got to go against. I have people whose parents threw them out of the house because they said, "You want to dance? You know, waste my money. I'm paying for you to go to school, and you yell on the streets at battles and whatever. Then go dance, gaan, go dance." And so they've had that. I know a lot of people who have had that. And sometimes and I tell you, a dance family and a dance community can be a wonderful thing, because that's where people create families outside of their families. And that happens very often. But sometimes if the support system is not within your family, it's without. And sometimes you need to go out and make the difference so that you can come back and say, "Oh, look, I told you it can work. You didn't believe me, but there." And like, trials are, I used to hate when people say this to me, "You're going to go through hard times, and trials are a part of life." And I was like, "Ugh." Trials are a part of life, and you are going to go through them. And you have to decide when you are in them if you are going to find the problem and solve it, and if you are going to push through it, or if you're going to get stuck in that situation that you're in and let it demotivate you. Like I said, it's not smooth sailing all the time. And you're not always going to have. So what I've had times where people are like, "Really, are you going to take that job?" Like, really? But that's where when you have to trust in yourself, and you have to trust that God's vision is bigger than what people are understanding at the moment. Is that helpful?
Good morning. Is it still morning? I just want to say that I brought my daughter here. She's 12, but I have learned so much from, hearing your stories. I met Slim volunteering at Eldos FM, and I'm so pleased to hear that volunteering experience was a stepping stone for him. You are an absolute breath of fresh air. Please excuse me if this is a frivolous question. I enjoyed The Lion King exceptionally. Is it coming this way anytime soon?
This question is the question I have to my own company as actually. The reason I actually took the current contract that I'm in is because it was supposed to be coming to South Africa next year. It was supposed to be coming back. But it's doing really well in Asia at the moment, so they've extended that season out. So it's been pushed a little bit later. But this is the sad thing, is that Lion King doesn't actually do very well when it comes to South Africa. And this is the sad thing, because unfortunately, our people don't support the arts, and I understand it to a certain degree, because it's one of the most expensive theatre shows, like, unfortunately. But like tickets, I think when it was at Monte Casino, because it was here in 2016? No, 2006. When was it? 2006. Like 12 years ago. The tickets were like 600 and up. And it's an expensive show. And I understand it. For a family of 4, no one has $3,000 to go and take their family to the theater. And then it's drinks and this and that and the petrol to get there. And like, no one's gonna go and spend 400 Rand on a ballet ticket. And it's very sad, but that is unfortunately the reality of the industry. And that is why so many of our talented people go overseas to work, because you earn a better living there at the end of the day, and we've all got bills to pay at the end of the day. So yes, it should be coming back to South Africa. I don't know if I'm still gonna be in it then. Been doing this for very long. But yes, I hope that it does, and that was my dream, because I always wanted to be in it so that my nieces can see Auntie on the stage. But it's taking very long. It's doing very well in other countries. We'll see.
Thank you so much. I have a question, and just give the guys a round of applause because they dancers, and Terren brought the whole crew. So I think that's what we need from this community. Ek voel nou bad van my jeug is nie, maar is okay. I think my question is just because my brother is a producer, and so it's obviously like in the stream. And I see how hard he works. Like just for instance, like I've learned, like when I've told people, hey, this Levi's a track, produce house. And said, I kan nog dit doen, I kan dit doen. And then when I don't say it's Levi's track, I said, oh, black of it must be in a geslat. So because I've even sat down with him, because I was like, being honest, I was like, but is your stuff really as good as we think it is, you know? And then even last night I was going through my phone because one of the guys messaged me because they heard one of the tracks that he did and they thought it was J. Cole. And actually he produced the beat and there were 2 other guys rapping from Eldos. So the guys thought it's J. Cole, so I was like, okay, so no, this guy is really good. We're not crazy. Because you go through that, you're like, but maybe he's not doing well because he's not as good as we think he is. But seeing what he is able to do, I now realize that he is doing well. And I think my question then comes in here is like, because I've seen him produce tracks over and over, like it does well maybe on radio. I think he was the first producer from Eldos to go from the top 10 list, the bomb charts, to number 1 in the space of like 2 or 3 days. And in the top 40 in the space of 1 week or 2. And it was with international tracks. And so I think this is where it comes in, where people rather want to go overseas because it's almost as if there isn't a market for him here. There isn't a space. So if he stays here, he cannot get a salary or the same payment from that. So then my question to you then would be, how do I then encourage him to continue? Because it seems every time he does well, he hits a brick wall. And he has to start over and over again. And he looks at all of the things, even looked at the Nigerian market, because I think their turnover was $87 million from iTunes alone. So he's even thinking in that, maybe I must try another market. So how do I support him as his brother to say, okay, you've done A, B, and C, but maybe we need to still continue because he needs that support from his family as well. What do you think I should say to him in that scenario?
I mean, what I can say is that anyone in this is the thing with the arts, like I said about the trajectory, but I think anyone who, if he is really passionate about making, and this is why people said if that is what he wants to do, whether he's making money from it right now or not, he needs to keep doing it. Because if he is flexible about the journey, the thing is, he might go to Nigeria and he might not be a success there or be a success there, but he might meet someone there that takes him somewhere else. Like, you don't know where, I worked for one of the prestigious schools because I met someone in a club. You don't know, you don't know where you're going to meet people. And I've gotten work from like the most unlikely people sometimes in my life. I get a phone call and I'm like, who? I got your number from so-and-so. Who? Can you come dance at so-and-so? And I'm like, okay. And then from that gig, I get another gig there and another gig there and another gig there because your reputation precedes you. So if he is making quality work, there's a lot of people that, Lebo, for example, there was a lot of work that he did in the US on little albums and things. And only when his stuff reached the right ears and the people with the means was he able to escalate his career to the next level. So it's being an artist is a frustrating journey because there is, I want to call it like an incubation period where you think, I'm ready, but nothing's happening. And you just have to keep working and you have to keep honing your craft. And it's frustrating, but building that up and building that work ethic is what keeps you there when the time does come. Because I've also seen a lot of people in the industry that I looked up to. And I was like, oh, I want to be like that one and that one and that one. And when I eventually started working in the industry and I would see these people, and then I'm like, really? Is that the person that I used to look up to? Because they got comfortable. They're like, oh, I'm making money now. People are hiring me just because of my name, so I can chill now. I'm gonna get the job, so it's fine. I don't need to work hard anymore. So people stop doing what they were doing to get successful when they become successful, and then they wonder why they lose it again. It's a constant. It really is a constant. It's work. So what I can say to you is be supportive of him. Be at every gig. Like this for me is my family being here. They are my biggest fans. I can dance for those 6,500 people, but if my niece is here going, auntie, I'm happy. And you've got to find that satisfaction. You've got to find that. I've done shows where you get to the end of the show and the audience is like, because they didn't like the choreographer's work. So that can either discourage you, and it does discourage a lot of people, or you can go, okay, I need to choose a better choreographer next time, or I need to do this differently next time. You cannot find your worth from out there. You've got to have it in you, and you've got to know where your purpose lies in that. It's in you, and it doesn't need to be affected by what people think. What people think of you doesn't matter. So support him, and encourage him, and encourage him to go and explore those markets, because you never know what's going to happen. There's so many platforms as well that artists can use nowadays. You know, when we were dancing and when we were growing up, there was no Insta, there was no this. If you wanted to be seen, you had to go to 46 million auditions so that someone can see you. And you had to go and meet that one and go to that one's thing and go and be like, oh, I'm a dancer. There were people dancing in the clubs as if they're auditioning for work. Like, that's what you had to do. So, and that's what it takes. But we're in an era where there's so many different platforms. Use all of those platforms.
Comfortable, because we want to take as many questions as possible before we go to break, but Tertia is going to dance after the break, and Joshua is going to do something on the drum machine, and you're going to get to hear him speak. So if we can be patient for a few minutes, can I see those hands again? Then I know where to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to start this side, and then I'll work my way across.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon. So Tasha, besides what do you call this? Praying and for the love and for the fun of your passion, your dance. Ne? So how do you stay motivated? Like, no one really tells us like the raw material of staying motivated. Like, how do you do it?
Okay, add on.
Yeah, I want to add on. It's actually similar to that. I just need you to stress on the fact that you never had the best training. You probably never went to the best schools where you learned the eloquent English and What was the thing? Like she's asking, what motivated you? What kept on pushing you? I mean, your whole story is like, I'm getting goosebumps on my face. I relate to it because everything you're saying, I'm like, yes, I get it. I know what you're saying. We had to come from nothing. I was poor my whole life, but we went to rehearsals. We kept on. Please go stress on that thing. They need to hear this. These kids are so poor. We don't have.
So I hear you. So the one thing that all my dance teachers, and I'm sure your dance teacher have told you, dance teaches you discipline and structure. And I'm a personal trainer as well, and it's like I tell a lot of my clients, magic doesn't happen overnight. What you do consistently over time is what counts. So yes, there are going to be days where you are not motivated. Yes, there are going to be times where you don't feel like being there. There's going to be times where you don't feel like going to class. There's going to be times where you just want to sit on the couch and watch Netflix and not go to the gym when you know you should be there. Those times come, but that's where your training and your discipline has to take over. And also, the wonderful thing about the arts is everyone has a different experience. When you perform for an audience, and I've noticed it, there will always be someone on the stage that will appeal to someone. If you're dancing in a group of people, someone's going to like that girl because, she hits the beats lekker. Someone's going to like that girl because she's fluid. Someone's going to like that girl because she's got stage presence. And that's the beauty of the arts, is that it's about your individuality. That's what it's about. Yes, you go through the training and they try and get everyone to like a baseline level of training. But when it comes to performance, people will always tell you, make it your own. Show us your personality. And I think that was the encouraging thing for me, because even though I didn't get cast in the first year showcase, even though my contract was apparently supposed to go to someone else or whatever, when I walked out of theaters and little kids would come up to me and go, oh my word, you're so good. And this was, that thing you did with your leg was so lekker. And those are the little things that kept me motivated. So when I go out, like I had this one moment in The Lion King, and there's a part where we're in the audience. And we're busy waving our little birds and things. And I was standing on a podium like this, and there was this kid that was seated there, and she just looked at me. And I'm singing now; it's in the middle of the show, and she just looked at me, and she just took her hand and she put it on my foot, and she just wanted to touch me. She just wanted to see if this person is real. And the whole song, mind you, I've been dancing for 2 hours when I foot was fail, no? But she wanted to touch my foot, and she put her hand on my foot, and she just looked at me the whole time. And the theater is like this fantasy world that people escape to. And it's a beautiful thing when you are the reason that people are in a theater escaping the world and are happy for 2 hours or 3 hours of their life. It's a gift that we get to give. And that for me, I think, is, I don't have to sit in an office. I don't have to sit in Sandton traffic every morning. I say to myself sometimes, I get to sing and dance for a living. Like, what a joke. That's what I get to do for a living. So I think when your motivation is low, your gratitude needs to be high. And you need to be grateful that you are in a position that not a lot of people get to be in. And I've been very privileged as well. So your motivation wanes, it comes and go. But if you remember why you started, and you remember how many people, like there was one director, there was an actor that missed a line once in the show. And he was like, I'm sorry, it was one line, it was a mistake, I'm human. And he said, one line, you've been doing that for a week. There's 2,000 people in the audience, that's 8 shows a week. 2,000 people, 20,000 people that you made a mistake for. And if you think about things like that, you're like, oh, okay, I need to find the energy and I need to put on a good show, because everyone, we do 8 shows a week and it just becomes your norm. But there's someone who's seeing it for the first time, every time that you're on that stage. And that really pushes me to, even when I'm moeg and tired, that pushes me to keep going.
Thank you. There was a question this side or two.
I have a very long list of questions, so I'll just ask this one, okay? Can we go out for coffee so we can sit and have this conversation that I want to have? Yes, coffee. Okay, so I'll just ask one question then. As a woman, first of all, you're very inspiring. Just your presence alone speaks volumes. So I celebrate your womanhood today. What I want to know is, so many times, we spoke about leaving the country, and I was privileged to live in the United States for almost 8 years. And it has given me a great appreciation for South Africa more than ever. It's like leaving my country made me realize how valuable Africa is and how valuable it is to be African. And in some of the things that you shared, even with what this gentleman shared next to me, it's like our people don't have an appreciation and they don't recognize our value. And that's why we don't get celebrated amongst our own, because people don't value the authenticity of being African. And so as a woman who's traveled abroad, I'm sure you've been exposed to the independence that women abroad have, that women in South Africa are still struggling with. And that's one of the main reasons why I decided to stay in the country, is because my greatest challenge is the fact that women who are so powerful and beautiful and authentic still walk with their heads down in our country. That's a problem. So as a woman who walks with her head up and boldly walks in authenticity, what kind of advice or encouragement would you have for someone who understands that issue?
So there's actually this quote that I read once that says, well-behaved women rarely make history. And I think it's something that's also very culturally ingrained in us, that as Africans, in the African culture, that the man is the head and the woman is the, and you must, and I speak as a married woman as well. It's a very difficult balance to strike, but I've had to be I travel. Most of the time, I travel alone. So I've had to learn to be, I didn't have a choice but to learn how to be independent. So that for me is, you don't weaken someone by helping them become independent. You empower them. And even in people in relationships, 2 independent people together are much better than 1 independent person and a puppy dog that's just following along, in my opinion. And it's not always easy. My husband and I butt heads a lot. We're in the same industry as well. So we butt heads a lot as well. And there's a lot of times where it's felt like a very difficult decision for me. And it's actually a conversation that I would like to have with women in the arts now, is that when do you put your career and as a woman before family and all of those things, and how do you prioritize those things? Because it's very easy, especially as a dancer, it's a very difficult conversation to have, and it's a very difficult thing to explain to people that our careers are not necessarily short, but our time is very valuable. That window for us to make an impact before people are going, when are you having babies? It's time. That window is very short for us. And I have been quite selfish when it comes to putting my career first, because I understood very early on that my time is limited. And the opportunities that I've gotten I've had to take because there will come a point where I cannot take them anymore. So, like I'm saying, you've got to, and this relates back to your question, I still question if I've made the right decision. Sometimes, did I make the right decision leaving? Did I make the right decision putting off having kids and whatever to do this? And I'll let you know in like 5 years. But that's a conversation that we need to have. But I will say what I believe is, and Beyonce said it as well, your 20s are a very important time in your life. That's the time where you explore the world, where you figure out who you are, and when you start building a career for yourself. And that was always my mindset towards that. So I think to a degree you've got to be selfish and you've got to put yourself and your ambitions first. And I think if you are doing things for the right reasons, if you are walking in your purpose, things will work out the way that they are supposed to. If that helps.
I like the hijack approach to the question. So last question, and then at about 25 to, we're going to come back. We're just going to take a short break, and then we're going to do Joshua, and Tertia's going to dance.
Tertia, going back, I think when Lion King came out, you were about 5 years old. For the youngsters, like watching Lion King back then as a cartoon and now actually doing it on stage, how has that become as a surreal moment? And also knowing that the new real life version Lion King has come out, what has that done either for your career or for the theatre production that you're in?
It's interesting. In a way, this has been a very interesting year for me because in a way, I feel like I've come full circle. So my very first trip that I traveled for dance was with the contemporary company that I was with, and it was to Taiwan, where I just was. And that for me was like the beginning of, oh my goodness, it's happening. Like the career of my dreams is I'm traveling and it's for dancing and like this is happening. So I feel like things like that make you believe in God because like it's just like this divine timeline from being inspired at this age, because at that age you don't know where life is going to take you, and then having that catalyst again. I watched the show when I was in high school and going, yeah, I want to be in that. That's what I want to do. And then to actually getting it and working in it for so long, it's kind of that's a fairy tale that I think resonates with people. That like my first contract that I got, I sat on the plane and I went, oh my God, dreams do come true. That was like my aha, my Oprah moment. I was like, oh, my aha moment. Nah? Dreams do come true. And I think it's a simple message, but that is also a very motivating thing. I think that you don't know. You're watching a cartoon. I didn't know then that would be what would make my career or what would take my career to the next level. So I think it's a very simple message, but dreams do come true in a matter of time. It's all a matter of time, really.
Thank you. We've just shortened the break, and then we're going to see you dance afterwards. We've got 10 minutes. Feel free and stick around until after.